A very warm greeting to each and everyone. It gives me an immense pleasure to extend a very warm welcome on behalf of Kristu College of Management and Technology, Changanacherry. Kristu College of Management and Technology was established in 2003. It is a self-financing college affiliated with Mamman University and is recognized by the All India Council for Technical Education. I am Mamman and I am the principal of today's event. On behalf of the organizing committee, I extend our appreciation to your valuable presence. We are very happy to see the continuous participation of the delegates in this one big long program. And today's session is handled by Dr. Mamman, Associate Professor, Department of Applied Psychology, Central University of Tamil Nadu. The topic for the day is from community level volunteers to gatekeepers, the need for a paradigm shift in psychosocial care. Now, we are about to move on to our session. Before we begin, I would like to remind certain things regarding that topic. They are the program will be recorded and live streaming is available on our YouTube channel. So participants who cannot join the Zoom meeting can listen to the YouTube stream. Also, you can ask any query to the resource person by using the Q&A feature at the end of the session. Delegates are requested to wait till the end of the session to do so. And the feedback forms will be provided at the end of the session. Please make sure that the feedback forms of all 5 days are filled in order to get the session. Now, I'd like to invite today's moderator, Mr. Jyoti, to introduce our distinguished resource person. Over to you, sir.
Dear delegates, welcome to the final day of our online National Faculty Development Program organized by the Postgraduate Department of Kristu College, Changanacherry. It is with utmost privilege I am here to welcome today's speaker, Dr. Mamman Joseph. Dr. Mamman Joseph is an associate professor at the Department of Applied Psychology, Central University of Tamil Nadu, with 13 years of teaching experience at the university level and 18 years of experience in psychological counseling. Prior to his appointment at CUTN, he was an assistant professor in the Department of Psychology, Central University of Karnataka. He has also worked as a faculty in the School of Behavioral Sciences and Inter-University Center for Disability Studies, Mahatma Gandhi University, Kerala. He was also a visiting faculty of the School of Medical Education, Mahatma Gandhi University, and State Institute for Medical Education and Technology, Kerala. He has a PhD and an MPhil in psychology, MSc in applied psychology, MSc in health and behavioral sciences, and a master's diploma in counseling psychology. He has designed and conducted various workshops and training programs related to soft skill training, psychosocial care for the disaster affected, and counseling. His research interests include disaster mental health, suicidology, phenomenal psychology, work-life balance, and counseling. Now over to you, sir. I welcome you to give your enriched knowledge on the topic from community level volunteers to gatekeepers, need for a paradigm shift in psychosocial care for the disaster affected. Please, sir.
Thank you for the nice words. Before moving to the session, first of all, I wish to congratulate the college as well as the Department of Psychology for organizing such a wonderful program that will be really helpful for many of my colleagues. And also, I'm really thankful to the organizers for giving me an opportunity to interact with my colleagues. I don't know, this may be a right time to interact much and all, because this is the time people may be tired after a day-long work and all. So let's see. And here, though I have prepared a presentation here, I prefer to have more discussion, so you can have discussion also, maybe in between or maybe at the end of the presentation. So this is just a new thought that I try to share with you and present in front of you in relation to psychosocial care in general, as well as psychosocial care of the disaster affected people in particular. Especially nowadays, very particularly these recent days, we are talking a lot related to climate change and related what's the things that is happening across the globe. Even a lot of summits are there, a lot of discussions in the government level, intergovernmental levels, and all is happening. How can we tackle the challenges which are related to the changing climate and all? We are also experiencing the after effect of changing climate change. So in that context, actually, disaster mental health is an important area in mental health field. So psychologists and related people, behavioral scientists, they can do a lot related to the psychosocial care of disaster affected. So in this context only, I am going to present today. So, yeah, this is just an introduction about it. So what about a disaster and how it is having an impact on various ways it has an impact on the mental health of people and all. So we know that especially if you are from Kerala or nearby places or any part of the world, one way or another way, directly or indirectly, you might have affected by a disaster. Sometimes you may be directly, sometimes it may be an indirect impact on you. So very recently, 2 years, 3 years ago, and all in Kerala witnessed but consecutive years witnessed drastic floods and all, which we never witnessed in a couple of centuries in a way. So as a result of it, we have faced a lot of distractions, a lot of issues related to our mental health, our socio-political scenario, economic aspects, and the larger developmental aspect also. So usually when something is happening, a disaster and all, people usually will focus on what we say, the physical damage that is happening to people and all, like maybe loss of life, loss of livelihood, etc., like that. So the directly visible impact we usually discuss, and the other side of the aspect, that the psychological and the emotional aspects we may neglect. But nowadays the scenario is changing. So yeah, any type of disaster, it's not a particular disaster. Any type of disaster is a complex phenomenon because it will affect the life of a person in various arenas. So in that context, only World Health Organization considered the emotional, health of people exposed to disaster as a public health priority. Because if a disaster is there, depending on its magnitude and all, the number of people affected may be different. But it may be a large scale or a medium scale or a small scale disaster, whatever it is. The people affected, they may have a lot of emotional as well as psychological problems. And why it is declared as a public health priority? Because many of the time this neglected aspect that is leading to a lot of other issues, maybe even after many years ago. So in that context, only 2 decades ago, WHO declared and recognized and declared that the emotional health of disaster affected people is a public health priority. Then there are a lot of developments happened after that. There are a lot of summits happened. There are a lot of protocols developed. There are a lot of meetings are there. A lot of panels are developed to study about how can we enhance the mental health aspect of people affected by disaster. Now, even the latest Sendai framework and all is talking about that aspect. Then again, another interesting study by the Lancet group was there in 2009, and some other researchers later. They also identified the same thing, like that the emotional health is considered to be the mental health is considered to be the most neglected health issue. So again, as it is already pointed out, like that physical health aspects and related aspects we are taking care a lot, but are we really taking care of the mental health aspect? Though we have a lot of awareness related to the importance of mental health and all, really we are taking care of our mental health. This is the question. So again, this is another context in which the concept of gatekeepers are very important. Then when it is coming to a disaster, usually we know that when a disaster is happening, there will be people will be there to take care of those who are affected by it. But what may happen after some time? What will be the life and what will be the mental health and health situation and other aspect of life of the people really affected by a disaster after maybe 1 year, after 2 years, after 5 years of a disaster, or even after that? So such follow-ups are very rarely happening. When something is happening, occurring, then lot of people, lot of help is there, lot of services are provided to them. Everyone will talk about them. They will be in the limelight, or they will be the focus. But actually, the mental health issues that occurs as a disaster, that may not be visible at that time. It may be coming maybe after some months, and it may be continuing for many years. Many years in the sense like that, it may be even some cases and all depending on the impact of the disaster on a person, the impact of that particular event that may be there even for decades. So sometimes some of people they have affected by a disaster, they may require to have or receive continuous and prolonged what we say mental health services for support system that has to be there. But in most of the cases at present, we may focus on a couple of months during and after the disaster, the mental health aspect and other support system we used to be. After that, we will be behind something else, and the government also may be behind something else. The agencies will be behind something else, etc. Like that. So this is not the case. We need to have a kind of a sustainable system that has to be there to take care of the mental health needs of disaster affected people as well as disaster affected communities, even after many years of a particular disaster. So this is the case, but what is happening like that? In a country like India, we know that the existing mental health services is itself is not sufficient. No, not only sufficient. Sufficient may not be a right way to use it. We have very limited mental health professionals in India. So the existing mental health professionals are not sufficient to cater the day-to-day mental health needs or the general mental health needs of people in our country. Then what may happen if all of a sudden an emergency or a kind of a disaster that may happen that is not in our control, if that is happening, then who will cater the need of it? Again, the burden will be coming on the existing mental health professionals or the mental health system, which already struggle to cater the needs of the general people or the general needs. So it will affect the quality of the services. It will affect what we say the reach of the services. It will affect what we say those who are affected by a disaster, and their mental health will be worsened day by day because they may not be getting proper services. So how can we resolve this type of problem? There comes the role of what we say not direct professionals and all. In psychosocial care, then we thought of providing proper training to other people also. They are not hardcore mental health professionals, but if they are trained properly, then they may be able to cater the immediate needs and all during a disaster or during a crisis situation, etc. like that. In that context only, the concept of psychosocial care is emerging. Psychosocial care service is not a counseling service. Counseling service is a specialized mental health service, whereas psychosocial care service is not a specialized mental health service. Psychosocial care services are not psychotherapy which we are providing to people. Again, it's not a specialized service. In psychosocial care and all, we are trying to provide the first-hand help to people who are affected by certain situations, certain contexts, or certain disaster and all. And we can identify and recognize someone they require further help or not. If someone requires further help and all, we can refer them to get specific and specialized mental health services from a psychologist or a psychiatrist, or maybe an institutionalized care if it is the case. So this context, we need to understand what is the difference between a specialized mental health service and a psychosocial care service. Okay. Then again, during a disaster and all, especially the initial phase and all, the immediate response during an emergency or a crisis situation, that's very much important because in terms of physical health, in terms of the destruction and all, we may be able to reduce the death toll. We can prevent the worsening of physical or mental health issues because someone might have witnessed it, someone might have already affected, some of our dear ones or near ones may be affected by the disaster, etc. like that. So if an immediate response is there during such an emergency situation, a crisis situation and all, the trauma associated with maybe we may be able to reduce the impact of that trauma to a great extent. I won't say through providing an immediate psychosocial care response, we may be able to alleviate the injured trauma. No, but we may be able to assist the person who are facing such a trauma. We may be able to prevent them from worsening their mental health condition, going to a mental breakdown, and all that we can prevent by providing an immediate response to readily available psychosocial care service. But how can we provide this immediate response during an emergency situation, especially in terms of a disaster? Because all of a sudden that may be emerged. Then what will we do? So the government are told they have identified that what we say there is a need for a quick response and immediate response. So for an immediate response, there should be teams that have to be ready if such incidents that happened and all. So from that point of view, they have recognized the disaster mental health and its importance, and it's added in the disaster management plan of almost all the countries in the world now. Even here in our country, in India, we have developed a national, what we say, disaster management authority. They have developed the guidelines in 2009 related to psychosocial support. So again, psychosocial care may be what we say, labeled in different names in different places. Somewhere it may be labeled as psychosocial care, somewhere it may be labeled as psychological first aid, somewhere it may be labeled as psychosocial support and all. In NDMS guidelines, they have used the term psychosocial support. So they have, the government of India has recognized the importance of psychosocial support, and they have included that in the what we say, disaster management guidelines, and they have provided under NDMA, there are nodal agencies are there. They have provided many community level volunteers the training in psychosocial care. So still the process is going on, and there are a lot of community level volunteers or community level workers. They are trained to provide psychosocial support to disaster affected people, people facing what we say, crisis situation, etc., like that. So when it is related to an immediate response during a disaster, the community has a great role to play. Because many times we know that during maybe the floods or during an earthquake, during a landslide or a mudslide and all, many times the channels for communication that will be cut. So people from outside, they may not be able to come to the place where that disaster happened, and or the roads may be blocked. There may not be a proper way to reach, etc., like that. Sometimes all the ways of communication that may be affected, power may not be there, etc., like that. So if we have a properly trained team there in the community, then they can provide that psychosocial support immediately. So there the community can play crucial roles and roles. So usually we used to quote the example of Japan and all. Japan usually facing a lot of frequent earthquakes and all. So they are every member in the community is trained to provide psychological first aid and all of psychosocial support, and they have also well aware about what to do if something is happening, if a warning sign is there, etc., like that. So likewise, if community is trained, or at least a team there in the community, till the time all the experts, outside experts help is reaching the place where a disaster happened, the members within the community, the trained members within the community, they can provide the initial responses or initial aid to the people affected. So it may be related to response, it may be related to recovery, it may be related to rehabilitation, etc., like that. So at present, we don't have such an organized what is the system in our place. Though during COVID time and all, we have developed community level volunteers, panchayat level volunteers, and also provide psychosocial care and all. Proper training and as well as the proper maintenance of such volunteer groups are a big question. So we need to assure the sustainability of such teams which we have formed. So a properly organized community resource, if it is there, then that may be really helpful during an unforeseen event or during a disaster. Then there may be a question in your mind like that. So uh, outside experts can provide expert help and all. Then how the community level volunteers, they may be able to provide all services. There are various ways community level workers or volunteers are there, or community based psychosocial care is there. Then that's really good during a disaster, especially in times of psychosocial care. Because when we are going to a place to provide psychosocial support and all, so if I am going to a place which is not much known to me at all, then if I do not know the culture of that place, I do not know the what we say, the local language, the dialect and all, or other power structure, other things and all of that place, then that may sometimes that may hinder the quality of the service which I am providing. But if there is a person, a trained person there within the community, then they may be able to provide culturally sensitive psychosocial care to the affected people. This is very important because during the Kerala floods and all, we have sent our own students as volunteers after training and all. But even after training, they faced some kind of issues related to the local culture and all. So it took some weeks for them to adapt with that situation and all. So that may be overcome through a properly, what we say, a trained person or trained teams there within the community. So this is one context where we need to prefer more of a local community-based psychosocial support system than an outside expert, what we say, provision of help. Then the second thing is that when it is coming to what we say, the community level volunteers in NDMA, National Disaster Management Authority's guideline, community level volunteer or community level workers, if we are seeing at present, they may not be necessarily from the same community, even though the label is community level volunteer, community level workers and all, but that doesn't mean that they may be from the same community. They may be, they may not be, but the label is coming because they are working in community level setting. So if the community level volunteer is what we say, not there from that particular community where they are going to provide psychosocial care, then they may need to find it difficult to establish a rapport with the people whom they are supposed to provide psychosocial care. So it may take some time for them to establish rapport. Sometimes the local community, if they are very rigid or if they are very closely knitted and they may not accept outsiders easily and all, then the acceptance of community level workers outside the community, that may be a question. Then the cultural issues we have already discussed. So all those things that may provide or that may lead to the provision of psychosocial care, that may be impeded or that may be what we say, slow down, or that may affect the overall quality of psychosocial care which may be provided by a community level worker or volunteer. So in this context only, I am put forwarding a new model here in terms of gatekeepers. So the term gatekeeper may be, when I have presented it in front of one of the groups, academic groups, they have asked, what is this gatekeeper? And usually the term may be familiar with those who are there in suicidology or suicidal research and all. Gatekeepers are usually used. But in other spheres and all, usually the term gatekeeper may not be used too much. But who is a gatekeeper? A person who is keeping or opening and closing the gate and all. That may be the dictionary definition and all if you are going and looking the term gatekeeper. Who is a gatekeeper, or what is the definition I have adopted here for the term gatekeeper? So this is what a gatekeeper here in our context. A gatekeeper is an individual in a community who have face-to-face contact with large numbers of community members as part of their usual routine. So 2-3 important things are here. So individuals in a community. So it is a must that a gatekeeper is a person within that particular community, within a local community. And they have face-to-face contact, or they have direct contact with large numbers of members of the community or even the families. So they have better interaction with the people in the community. They are in the same community. Also, they are meeting as part of their usual routine. So in the context, we can say that some examples I can give, like say for example, maybe an Anganwadi worker. Consider the case of an Anganwadi worker, a teacher in an Anganwadi. Usually, a teacher in an Anganwadi is a member within the community. They may be interacting with many, not only the parents and the kids, or the kids or the parents, but they have many other works and also they may have contact with many families, and they have a good idea about many families within the community. Another example may be an ASHA worker. An ASHA worker is an accredited social health activist. So now most of the schemes, policies, programs, and all is communicating through ASHA workers by the government. So we are also maybe familiar with the ASHA workers and all. So usually they may directly meet you, or they may be communicating to you through WhatsApp groups and other groups, etc. like that. So an ASHA worker maybe is a member of the community. They usually have direct contact with large numbers of the members and families in the community, and that's part of their usual routine they have, and they have an acceptance also. There is so the members of the community and these people they are very familiar. So likewise, there are n number of gatekeepers we can identify in relation to the context of the issue which we are talking. Some context may be a school teacher within the community, may be a gatekeeper. A person, representative of the Panchayat Raj institution, especially a Panchayat ward member, we can call as a gatekeeper, because he is also having face-to-face contact, direct contact with large numbers of members of the community, etc. like that. In Kerala's context, if we are looking, even a Kudumbasri member may be called as a gatekeeper, because Kudumbasri is having a very good networking system of neighborhood groups. A neighborhood group with 10 to 20 members. 10 to 20 members means that 20 families are connected, and then they have a three-tier system of ADS, CDS, etc., like that. If they are nearly 40, more than 40 lakhs members are there in Kudumbasri. So maybe in Kerala's context, maybe Kudumbasri can be considered as a gatekeeper group. So likewise, we need to identify in relation to the local context who all can be act as a gatekeeper. So this identification of the gatekeeper is very important. At present, we are not identifying the gatekeepers. At present, we are identifying, or we are trying to provide help through community level volunteers or community level workers. So this has to be changed. This has to be changed to a gatekeeper in the community. So there is no introduction for the gatekeeper to a particular family in that community. They already know, and they have a good acceptance also. Usually they have better acceptance than a community level volunteer or worker in the family or for a person, etc., like that. Because one of the problem, even our students after the Kerala floods relief work, they came back and they reported that sometimes people affected, they may ask that you are not from this particular place, and then how do you know our real needs and all? So this may be a question. Such questions may not be there, and such questions may not be there in the case of a gatekeeper, because they are very close to these people. So this is the concept of gatekeeper, which I try to. So the paradigm shift is that from community, the concept of community level volunteer or worker, we need to shift that to gatekeeper, the idea of a gatekeeper. And then it may be in the local level, maybe in the panchayat level, or maybe in a panchayat ward level, or whatever may be the system in different places. That local level, we need to identify who all can act as a gatekeeper, and if they are willing and all. First, identifying if they are willing and all, they can be undergo training in the provision of psychosocial care or different aspects of disaster management also. This is possible. So here in my concern is psychosocial care, so they can be trained in various aspects of psychosocial care. So at any given moment, if anything happens, there will be a properly trained team within the community. Immediately they can respond to that particular need or that particular crisis situation. Even the channels of communication are cut, even transportation is not possible. Even many families within the community is affected. At least a few will be there to take care of the psychological and emotional needs of the affected people. So this is what I really want to talk about. So since this is what the advantage of shifting from community level volunteer to gatekeeper, since they are from the same community, they already closely knit to the people in the community. They know local culture, they know the customs, they know the values, beliefs, taboos, morals, and all narratives, power structure, etc. of that particular community. So sometimes there is an issue called parachuting that may happen if outside experts or people outside the community is coming to provide psychosocial care. This actually in India, we have recognized the issues of parachuting during the tsunami time. Immediately after tsunami, yet number of psychologists, mental health professionals, associated people, and all they have came to the places where it's badly hit by tsunami. But unfortunately, many of them couldn't provide effective psychosocial care because they have no idea about the local culture. So this type of what we say, large number of outside experts are coming to a particular place where a disaster occur and all. That phenomenon is called parachuting. So if gatekeepers are there, then parachuting may not be there. So they can provide culturally sensitive, appropriate psychosocial care to the people. Second and most important point is that, so the beginning we discussed that the scars of the mental health issues or the psychological issues that may even last for some decades or it may last for many years, etc., like that. So in case of what we say sustainable psychosocial support or psychosocial care to a disaster affected person or a family, then if gatekeepers are there, they are within the community, they are very nearby them. At any moment, they will be able to support them. They can be closely monitor the mental health of the people affected and all. And based on that, they can provide necessary support to them. So through that, we can assure that sustainability of the psychosocial support or psychosocial care, a person, a disaster affected person who really requires it. Then now we are talking about resilient communities. So if you want to have resilient communities, especially in terms of the mental health component, definitely there should be trained people within every local community. There we can think of the model of gatekeepers so that the existing issues related to the provision of psychosocial care that can be avoided. So this is the key aspect. So continuity and sustainability we can assure. Readily available trained professionals will be there to provide psychosocial care. Culturally, what we say, appropriate psychosocial services we can provide to the community, etc., like that. Also, another important aspect, if gatekeepers are there in a community, they may be able to better integrate various aspects of psychosocial care and various aspects of disaster risk reduction activities also within the community. So we can, what we say, widen the scope of the use of a trained gatekeeper in a community. Not only the provision of psychosocial care, even many other aspects are there, even including disaster mitigation activities, then prevention, then response, recovery, rehabilitation, different phases of disaster-related activities we can involve the gatekeepers so that at the end we will have, we can move more towards the concept of a resilient community. So this may not be possible if a community level worker or a community level volunteer is there. That's why I'm talking about this paradigm shift. So a few references also I had given for the participants. I will send this slide also to the organizers. Already I had given a synopsis of the presentation. So I hope that organizers may provide that synopsis to the participants. So this is in nutshell the presentation. Now nearly 20 minutes are there or 15-20 minutes there for an active discussion. So I really enjoy discussion even in my typical classes. I don't like this type of lengthy lecture and all. Instead, discussion mode or interaction I usually prefer. So you may have your own suggestions, you have your own comments. Sometimes you have your queries. So I request everyone to actively participate in the discussion part. Then only it will be a fruitful session for both of us. So by this, I'm winding up the presentation part. It's open for discussion, please. Hello. Sijo sir, the participants may be able to ask questions and all, right? Or their
Yes,
mics
sir.
are muted by default. They can unmute and they can ask, right?
They can ask.
Yes, they can also put in the chat boards, or else they
Okay.
can also ask themselves.
Fine, fine. So participants, anyone, any comments?
Okay, sir, we have a question now.
Yeah, please.
How can healthcare systems and policy be reformed to better support a paradigm shift in psychosocial care? I'll repeat again. How can healthcare systems and policy be reformed to better support a paradigm shift in psychosocial care?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, there should be policies. I have already submitted a policy document to Government of India in relation to this. So recently we have another policy change happened in the area of suicide prevention. National suicide prevention strategy or a framework is developed. So like that, we need to have incorporate the idea of including the gatekeepers and gatekeepers training in our disaster management plan. And that plan, both a bottom up and top down approach has to be there in the sense like that. We need to identify gatekeepers in the local level or the local community level, and the training has to be developed from a centralized top-down approach as well as incorporating the local needs by the interaction with the gatekeepers. So it has to be included in the policy framework either by the central government or by any of the state governments. They can do that. And I hope that maybe in the recent years, definitely the shift will be there. Because many a times we are talking like we have the population is increasing day by day, so it's a problem, etc. like that. So as a psychologist, what I strongly believe, human resource is the best resource, and we have n number of gatekeepers are there. Even now, if you are looking, many of the officials, government officials, they may retire by the age of 56, 57 if they are not a teacher. If they are teachers, maybe 60, 65 may be our retirement. So 56 people are retiring at a very younger age. They can even provide active service even after 20 years also. Even some of the people, if they are willing and all, then we can consider them as a gatekeeper. We can effectively make use of their service and all, and the psychosocial, what we say, care services and all in the local community. If provided, they have to be volunteer and they have to be provided the initial training in psychosocial care. So this is how we can, and then slowly that change will happen, and after that, that may be a self-sustainable system. I hope I have addressed that query, or if further query is related to that, please. And also, then in the chat box, I really wish to hear some of the voices of the participants. As a teacher, otherwise, it is really an embarrassment. I hope you all are also faculty members. Am I right?
Yes.
So how will you feel if your participants are not talking to you? That's really an embarrassment. At least some of the participants, please talk also than typing in the chat box.
Okay, sir, we have another question. We have several questions in the chat box.
Yes, yes.
I'll come with another question. How does the shift in psychosocial care benefit us in today's world?
Okay, yeah, that's what I had given already. I think I had given the response. Again, psychosocial care, even nowadays also, it's not the topmost priority of the government. Even after the last, what we say, the report of this Kerala floods and all I have looked into, the psychological or the mental health aspect is in a way neglected. So some of the experts in the report, they have not identified much mental health aspects and all with their parameters. So there comes the role of we, the psychological community. We need to, what we say, make it into the notice of the government and all in terms of its impact, not the immediate impact only. How if a person is affected by a disaster and all, or if a family is affected by a disaster and all, how the entire society will be affected, not only in the short term, in the long time also. If a family is affected, not only that family, what all things they were able to do, that may not be possible for them to do at present. So that will be loss for the society. Like that, if thousands of families are there may be economic loss, there may be loss in productivity, there may loss in quality of services, etc., etc., will be there. So if we have a community level support system is there is no need to have waiting for the expert trained clinical psychologists or psychiatrists. Even the district level and all, I think we may have one or two psychiatrists in a district, maybe in a district mental health plan and all. So very few resources are there, but we may not be able to cater the needs through the professional, what we say, available professionally trained people. So there comes the role of increasing the strength within the community itself, so that we can have the resilient community concept.
I hope that's a very well clear answer. So we have some other questions also. What are some examples of best practices or successful models for delivering psychosocial care in a holistic and person-centered way?
Actually, that's a very nice question. So at present, I can't tell any best practice in terms of holistic and person-centered way we are providing psychosocial care support. Because if you are strictly going with the person-centered approach, maybe to provide in psychosocial care, that may not work in that context, in the immediate context and all. It may be a little bit difficult because person-centered way is focusing mainly on the person who is the affected person or who the other individual. But immediately after a disaster and all, that person may not be in a position or may not be in a condition to communicate with you properly. So there is no best practices in that. Second thing is holistic. Again, that is why I have mentioned in one place, we have to have comprehensive plan. At present, we don't have comprehensive plan. What all we are providing at present is a kind of advice, or we are providing maximum up to some techniques to ventilate the pent-up emotions. This is what we are doing through psychosocial care activities at present, mainly. I'm not saying that everywhere it is happening or everyone is doing it. Majority of the cases, we will listen the affected person. We will assist them or help them to ventilate their pent-up emotions related to the disaster and all, but we are not looking in the holistic way to provide psychosocial care. Definitely that has to be addressed.
I think you have already answered the question. How do the community level volunteers help in psychosocial care? How do the community level volunteers help in psychosocial care?
Now this is what is happening. Now community level volunteers are there. So community level volunteers, maybe after a crisis situation and all, community level volunteers may be coming and approaching the affected people or affected family and all, and they will try to assess whether you have any psychosocial issues and all. Then if certain issues are there, then they may provide actually psychosocial service, but many are thinking that is counseling service. But they will listen you, they will communicate you with how can we overcome that particular situation and all. And they may be in constant touch with you, constant touch in the sense like that, maybe once in a week, twice in a week and all, they may have rounds with you and they interact with you. Sometimes it may be over telephone or on certain other platforms and all, they may contact with you, etc. Like that is happening at present. And maybe during COVID time and all, community level volunteers might have approached you also. So they have given very limited or very minimum training in providing psychosocial care. So there should be, we need to have a comprehensive plan also to provide psychosocial care activities. I had recently conducted a project under ICSSR. So there, what I have identified, there are a lot of myths and misconceptions related to the psychosocial care of disaster-affected people and all. And many people, they are thinking like that, if someone is showing some symptoms of mental health issues, they only need to have get or receive psychosocial care and all. That's not the case. Many of the time, people, they are not showing any symptoms also of psychological disturbance. They may also need to have psychosocial support or psychosocial care. So if a trained community level volunteer is there, they will approach you and they will be able to identify that whether help is needed or not, what type of help is needed, what is the impact of that issue or that particular disaster or that particular crisis for you, and whether you need to have any serious symptoms and all which require specialist attention and all. Then they may refer you to other professionals and all. And they may help you also to liaison with other district authorities, other authorities and all. And all those services are provided by a community level volunteer. This is what in the ideal case. What is happening in actual reality, it may be far away from that. I need to be honest, right?
Yes, sir.
That's all the questions in the chat box. So if anyone has any questions, you can talk freely.
So if you have any comments also, that also it will be really help for me also, because these are the initial stages of developing this particular concept. So a lot of interactions are needed for further modifications.
Okay, it seems like there are no more questions anymore.
Yeah, that's okay. Okay, Sherin, please continue.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
So it has been really wonderful to hear you speak about this wonderful topic, and I think you are really passionate about this particular area. So thank you on behalf of our department, and I would like to thank all the delegates who have made this program a grand success. We have received a large number of sessions from across the globe, and we have been receiving positive feedback all along. So thank you everyone for doing so much for us. And in order to conclude this week-long program, I would like to invite the sectional head of our department, Dr. Sudha sir. And sir, can you please log on?
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yes, sir.
Of course. When they said, I think 5 days online FDP program, it has come to a successful end. Very happy about that. Extremely delighted and overjoyed. First of all, I will have to thank from the bottom of my heart many of the individuals who have played a very stellar role in bringing into fruition, especially this wonderful section, a 5-day long event wherein many speakers of formidable and prominent nature, they appeared in the program. They articulated many issues relevant to the psychological field. One of the focal points of the 5-day faculty development program conducted by the Postgraduate Department of Psychology of KCFT, or Kristu College of Management and Technology, was that all the resource persons, they took and they took, through their articulations on various topics and subjects, they took psychology, the subject psychology, into the realm of practicality, the domain of practicality. And they also tried their level best. They spared no stone unturned in their attempt to give, to relate psychology subject with the contemporary issues. And that brought a lot of benefits to many of the participants in this 5-day FTP, Faculty Development Program. A few individuals I have to thank from the bottom of my heart, especially for unveiling this section in a beautiful manner over this Zoom platform. First of all, the principal of KCMT, Reverend Father Joshi Chiraguri CMI, who extended his wholehearted support and backing, and especially the tacit backing for making this event a grand success. I think almost 100 participants participated in this event, especially associate professors and assistant professors from different colleges based abroad, India and in Kerala as well. And also the course coordinator, I think, of Postgraduate Department of Psychology of KCMT, I think she also extended her support. And today's section is mantled by none other than Dr. Mamman Joseph. Thank you, sir, for your valuable talk. I think I was listening only a few moments your talk, but even then it was a wonderful section. I mean, it was wonderful, and it was an engaging one, a riveting one. I just thank you from the bottom of my heart for being present over here. Your presence is an invaluable one. I appreciate you wholeheartedly for your presence over here. And also the other resource persons of the previous sections, such as TC Mariam Thomas, Dr. Geeta Singh, Dr. Padmakumari P, and Dr. Baby Shahari, and they were all outstanding in their talks. They articulated many issues of relevant nature, and their sections were very relevant, very forthcoming, very riveting, very engaging, and we all enjoyed it. And many of our teachers, they got much benefits out of those sections. Thank you so much to those persons for their forthcoming and engaging and riveting and ennobling and revitalizing and rejuvenating sections. I appreciate all of them in an wholehearted way. And also the staff coordinators. I think I needed to give special thanks to two of our staff coordinators who I think ran pillar to post to make this section a successful one. And especially Dr. Sijo Jacob and Ms. Sherin Jones. They were there all along, working relentlessly and mercilessly to, I think, bring this section into a reality. I appreciate them wholeheartedly for the spade work they made in order to make this section a successful one. And also the staff members who acted as moderators in this section, such as Divya Miss, Irene Miss, and Jomit, and all the staff members of Psychology Department for their cooperation and collaboration in making this event a successful one. And also, last but not the least, it's not the last one, but it's all the participants from different parts of India as well as the world. I'd also care. They all came in, they all supported us, almost 100 people or 100 professors and members participating in an FTP program. That must be appreciated to the hill. That must be lauded like anything. I'm not praising my own tales or anything of that sort. I think this event is a successful one because of the participation from all quarters. And also, I think I thank all the participants for turning up in this platform in time. And also many of the participants, they asked relevant questions. And after each section, they engaged with those persons. So I thank you all for your especially active participation, and also for I think asking questions and sending questions to the chat box. And that also made this FTP program a truly interactive one. And last but not the least, that's very important because our PG students, I mean, many of them, they acted as coordinators. And they, I think, they were, I think, rock solid in backing us. And their all-hearted support made this program very successful, a grand one. Thank you so much to everyone for your minutest support for the successful the unveiling of this FDP program over here in this Zoom platform. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mamman sir.
Okay. Sir, thank you. Shall I leave now?
Yeah. Your session was very nice and it was very worthy. All staff faculties were eagerly waiting for your worthy words. As a person who is involving a lot in this area, we are very much grateful to have your presence in the FDP, and thank you for your wonderful words. And we are expecting your an offline interaction with us soon in our campus. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Sijo sir and team, and thank you all the participants. At this time, you have listened nearly 1 hour and all. That is really a great thing. And please think of the crux which we have discussed and all. And as Sijo sir pointed out, hopefully we may meet there directly in your college. Thank you, one and all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to all the delegates who have been there for us for the program. Thank you so much for joining.